Hi, welcome to the FX Algo Trader Daily Pivots version 2 demonstration. This is a new pivot system with a new calculation engine which allows traders to change the time frames on which the pivots are actually calculated and then drawn. This allows people to customize the actual pivot displays to meet their trading time frame, and also they can then tune the pivots into the particular markets they trade, whether that's the Asian Open or the GMT London Open, or alternatively the US Open. So you can get some control over how your pivots are displayed using the system. So the first thing to note is that in the top left hand corner of the chart we've got some data which basically explain or details the pivot calculation start and end timings. This is basically the window on which the pivots are actually based. So the first calculation point is the 19th of January, 2300 hours, and the final pivot calculation date is the 20th of January, 2300 hours. If we want to change our calculation time frame, we may want to change that to midnight. So we basically need to advance those times by 1 hour, and to advance we just simply type in -1 in the external input parameters to the system and OK those, and now you can see the dates have now changed to midnight on the 20th going through to midnight on the 21st. Okay, these timings will be midnight on your chart, so this is one of the things you need to factor in. So if you're GMT +1, you'd need to obviously calculate from 0-100 hours in the morning to replicate a GMT time frame. So it's you've got to think about where you are when you do this. Okay, let's have a look at some more functionality. The other thing you can do obviously is hide intermediate M-level pivots very easily. Let's just show those so we know you can see the M levels have disappeared. You can also see there's some blue dots on the chart which represent the pivot window calculation, the start and the end times, and those dots will change as you shift the actual time frames. So it's quite a useful way of validating that you're on the right track with your calculations. Let's have a look at other things we can do. So we may want to change colours. Very easy to do. You can change any of the line colours all the way through the pivot range. Let's say, for example, you want to change S1 to, say, yellow, and let's say you also want to change the way the lines are drawn. So you may want to change the line style so they're dashed, and you may want to extend the actual pivots so that they draw out into the future. Let's just show those changes. So you can now see we've changed our lines so that they're drawn as a ray extending out into the future, and we've changed our line style on S1 to yellow. Let's just show you some more adjustments we can make. Let's change S1 back to green. I'm a bit colourblind, so I find green's really difficult to find. Olive. Oh well. Let's go to saddle brown. What other things we can do is if we don't want to draw the lines as rays, we can actually extend them into the future, but control how far they extend into the future, if that makes sense. So let me demonstrate that. I'll turn the ray off. I'll turn line extension on to true, and then just see what the settings do with those, like that. You can now see we've got the lines being drawn slightly into the future. If we look at that on a lower time frame and then put a vertical line in, you can see that the lines are being drawn till midday the following day on your charts. If you want to then tune that or trim that line and have some adjustment over it, there's a parameter called line extension trim. What this does is it will allow us to shorten or extend the lines in hourly increments. So if I put 1 in, it'll basically shorten the line by 1 hour, and you can see that's just wound it back a tiny bit there. So it gives you a bit of control over how you want the line to be drawn if you do use the extension option. One of the other things we've got is a pivot alert system. So for example, if we want to set up an alert on this chart around, say, the central pivot, if we're looking for possibly to go short in this scenario, we can say pivot alert enabled equals true. We then tell the system which pivot we want the alert to trigger at, which is the central pivot, and we need to tell the system how many pips in terms of the threshold around the pivot when the alert will trigger. So if we go for 10 pips, if price action gets within 10 pips above or below the central pivot line, we'll get an alert. Let's set it at 15 and just see how far it is away at the moment. And I'm just going to go down to 5-minute charts so we can just check out how far we are away at the moment. So that is, it's quite a long way away. 4162, 4112. So we're about, it's over this 51 pips. Okay, let's change. Let's actually look at our M levels now, and we'll show our M levels on the chart. Okay, let's change the alert, so we'll do it around M2. It's a little bit closer. Okay, so we just change our alert to M2 and we'll trigger it at, say, 20 pips. It's just for demonstration purposes. So if price action gets within 20 pips, here you go, you can now hear the alert triggering. You can also see down here in the experts window the alert is saying pivot alert at M2, so further confirmation. I'm just going to turn that off before it drives us crazy. So to turn it off, it's very simple. You just disable the alert system. On more complex versions of the system, such as Daily Pivots version 2 with the Alerts Plus module, you can create alerts for every single line independently. And if you look at the Daily Pivots version 3 module, particularly with the Excel interface, you can set alerts for every level, all the way from S3 to R3, and you can have different channel widths either side, so different upper and lower channel widths as well. The other things you can do with this V2 system, you can change the line lengths based on period. So for example, we're on 5-minute charts here. If we want a slightly shorter line length or a longer line length, we could display the actual pivots over 30 periods. So let's just show you that, and you can now see that the lines have been extended to draw over a longer period, a longer range of periods. Same thing over, say for example, I want particularly short daily pivot lines. So I just go to my line length D1 and let's draw those over 3 days. So when I go to the higher time frame onto my daily charts, you'll now see, zooming in a bit, you can now see the pivots are only drawn over 3 days. You probably want them a bit longer than that in practice, but I hope it's just the principle I'm trying to demonstrate here. So that's just a quick overview of the basic functionality of the Daily Pivots version 2 system. If anyone has any questions, please don't hesitate to email me. It's info@fxalgotrader.com, and the website address is www.fxalgotrader.com. Thanks very much for listening.